Cinema is a visual language. Just as with any language, there are grammatical rules that help give it structure and meaning. In filmmaking, cinematography specifically, a lot of these grammatical rules are visual aspects of the image. One of the first rules you'll learn as a film student is called the 180-degree rule. A lot of students tend to get confused by this and they mess it up in their own films, myself included when I was a film student, so I wanted to make a quick video to break it down using a lot of visual examples, so hopefully it'll be easier to comprehend. So what is the 180-degree rule? Maybe you've heard of this before, maybe you've watched some videos about it in the past or read up on it. I find it's often explained in an overly complicated way and it can be explained in a lot more simple way. So in basic terms, the 180-degree rule just states that your camera should never cross an invisible 180-degree line within the scene. Usually this line is drawn between two characters in a conversation because that's a very common scenario in a narrative film, and this is basically just done so the spatial relationship between both characters remains the same. It helps prevent the audience from getting disoriented between cuts, between different angles. So imagine in a scene, character A will always be looking left to right, and character B will always be looking right to left. If you break this rule by, say, crossing the line and filming over it for one of the shots, then both characters would be looking the same direction, and it wouldn't feel like they were spatially connected between the shots. In other words, it wouldn't feel like they're actually looking at each other. So, let's take a few examples from our short film Sluggo's Big Hit to give you a better idea of how this can work in your own narrative. So, the first dialogue scene in the movie takes place in a dugout on a baseball field, which gives us a pretty easy 180-degree line. Since all the characters are already lined up on the bench itself forms a 180 line naturally, and we can't even accidentally cross that line because we can't physically get the camera behind the bench anyway. So you'll see our main character steps into the dugout, and here she's always looking left to right, whereas all the players on the bench are always looking right to left. If we were to say film the main character here from her other side, then she would be looking right to left as well as the players, and that would be disorienting for the audience. So pretty simple for scene one, simply because the geography of the scene, of the set, makes it pretty easy to figure out where you should put the camera. In this next scene, we have the pitcher and the batter on the field. The pitcher is always looking left to right, and the batter right to left. So we decided to put the camera on this side of the line because that's the same side that the dugout is on. And we've already seen the field from the dugout's perspective, so this just helps the audience stay spatially oriented since they've already seen it from this angle. So later in the film, as the batter starts running the bases, the 180 line gets a little bit more complicated. However, once you realize if you leave the camera inside the diamond, you're always looking out towards the batter, then that means the batter is always moving right to left, always looking right to left, just as he was when he was on the base. We also have this joke where the batter gets on a bike and rides the bike around the bases and then rides the bike through the woods before getting back to the bases. Even when we cut away to the woods, we still have that spatial direction continuity of him moving right to left, so spatially it's still not disorienting, even though he jumps magically to a different location. And then it's not until the end when he comes down the final stretch that we decided to put the camera directly on the line and have his eye line straight down camera. But as long as we don't cross that line, this doesn't disorient the viewer either, and it doesn't break the 180 rule. So there are some cases where crossing the line is fine. For instance, in a long Steadicam shot where the camera or the talent are moving throughout the scene, if the camera doesn't cut away, then spatial relationships are always being maintained, and it's not actually technically breaking the rule or being disorienting in any way. Likewise, it's sometimes okay to break the rule if you've already established the clear spatial relationships between everything, where everybody is, say, in a clear wide shot. As long as none of the characters move away from their positions that they were in the wide shot, then it's pretty easy to break the rule and not disorient the audience. Finally, this rule can also be broken to purposefully disorient the viewer if that's what your intention is. But until you know how to follow the rule, you can't really effectively break it on purpose. So, I hope this video helped shed some light on this concept. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll respond to as many as I can. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you guys in the next one.